Om Bhagavate Sudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Kadamba Kanana Swaminiti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 4, the process of creation. We start with verse number 8 today. Bhagavato Brahman Harer Adbhuta Karmana Durvibhavyam iva bhati kavibhischapi cheshtitam Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Harer Adbhuta Karmana Durvibhavyam iva bhati kavibhischapi cheshtitam Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Harer Adbhuta Karmana Durvibhavyam iva bhati kavibhischapi cheshtitam. Synonyms Translation and Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki Jai. Nunam, still insufficient. Bhagavata, of the personality of Godhead. Brahman, O learned Brahmana. Hare, of the Lord. Adbhut, wonderful. Karmana, one who acts. Durvibhavyam, inconceivable. Iva, like that. Abhati, appears. Kavibhi, even by the highly learned. Cha, also. Api, in spite of. Cheshtitam, being endeavored for. Translation. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful, and they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. Would anyone like to read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, I can read.
Yes, thank you.
Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. The acts of the Supreme Lord in the creation of just this one universe appear incomprehensibly wonderful. And there are innumerable universes, and all of them aggregated together are known as the created material world. And this part of his creation is only a fractional portion of the complete creation. The material world stands as a part only, ekam sena sthito jagat. Supposing that the material world is a display of one part of his energy, the remaining three parts consist of the Vaikuntha Jagat or spiritual world described in the Bhagavad-gītā as Madhama or Sanatana Dhama, or the eternal world. We have marked in the previous verse that he creates and again winds up the creation. The action is applicable only in the material world because of the other greater part of his creation, namely the Vaikuntha world, is neither created or not annihilated, otherwise the Vaikuntha Dhama would not have been called eternal. The Lord exists with his Dhamma, or in other words, with his eternal name, qualities, pastimes, and torch, and personality, which are all display of his different energies and expansions. The Lord is called Anandi, Anadi, or having no creator, or Adi, or the origin of all. We think in our own imperfect way that the Lord is also created. But the Vedanta informs us that he is not created. Rather, everything else is created by him. Narayana Paro Vyaktata. Therefore, for the common man, these are all very wonderful matters for consideration. Even for the great scholars, they are inconceivable. And thus, such scholars present theories contradictory to one another. Even in the insignificant part of his creation, this particular universe, they have no complete information and as to how far this limited space extends, or how many stars and planets are there, or the different conditions of those innumerable planets. Modern scientists have insufficient knowledge of all this. Some of them assert that there are 100 million planets scattered all over space. In a news released from Moscow dated 2/21/60, the following piece of knowledge was relayed. Russia's well-known professor of astronomy, Boris Vorontsov Velinimir, said that there must be an infinite number of planets in the universe inhabited by beings endowed with reason. It could be that life similar to one on Earth flourishes on such planets. Doctor of Chemistry Nikolai Zerov, covering the problem of atmosphere on other planets, pointed out that organism of Martian, for instance, could very well adapt itself to normal existence with a low body temperature. He said that he felt that the gaseous composition of Martian atmosphere was quite suitable to sustain life of beings which have become adapted to it. This adaptability of an organism to different various of planets is described in the Brahma-saṁhitā as Vibhuti Vinam. That is, each and every one of our innumerable planets within the universe is endowed with a particular type of atmosphere, and the living beings that are more perfectly advanced in science and psychology because of a better atmosphere. Vibhuti means specific powers, and Vinam means variegated. Scientists who are attempting to explore outer space and are trying to reach other planets by mechanical arrangements must know for certain that organisms adapted to the atmosphere of Earth cannot exist in the atmosphere of other planets. Easy journey to other planets. One has to prepare himself, therefore, to be transferred to a different planet after being relieved of the present body. As it is said in the Bhagavad-gītā 9.25, Yanti deva vrata devans, pitran yanti pitravrata, bhutani yanti bhuteja, yanti mad yajino pimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth amongst the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings, and those who worship me will live with me. Mahārāja Parīkṣit's statements regarding the workings of the creative energy of the Lord discloses that he knew everything of the process of creation. Why? Then he did ask Sukadeva Goswami for such information. Mahārāja Parīkṣit, being a great emperor, a descendant of the Pandavas, and a great devotee of Lord Krishna, was quite able to know considerably about the creation of the world. But that much knowledge was not sufficient. He is therefore that even greatly learned scholars fail to know about that. Even after great effort, the Lord is unlimited, and his activities are so unfathomable. With a limited source of knowledge and with imperfect senses, any living being up to the standards of Brahmaji, the highest perfect living being within the universe, can never imagine knowing about the unlimited. We can know something of the unlimited when it is explained by the unlimited, as has been done by the Lord himself in the unique statements of the Bhagavad-gītā. And it can also be known to some extent from realized souls like Sukadeva Goswami, who learned it from Vyasadeva, a disciple of Nārada, and thus the perfect knowledge can descend by the chain of disciplic succession only, and not by any form of experimental knowledge, old or modern. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Ritika. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Such a long purport and so many wonderful points Prabhupada is mentioning here. The translation states that the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful and they appear inconceivable. And if we actually see, there are so many wonderful activities that the Lord has performed. Killing of Putna, that are inconceivable for a human mind to understand. Killing of Putna, he was a baby. He was in the baby form, lifting of Govardhan Hill. He was only 7-year old and he was lifting the Govardhan Hill, such a big mountain on the left hand, the pinky finger of the left hand, his left hand. Krishna dancing on the hoods of Kali, of the serpent, such a huge serpent. So when we hear all these activities, the first thought comes to, how can such a little boy perform such wonderful activities? But actually, scriptures give us faith. Scriptures give us this understanding by which we can fathom these, wonderful pastimes of Krishna, which are full of. We cannot understand with our material, senses. There's a story that I think most of us have heard when Nārada Muni went to a village and first he met a Brahmana there, and the Brahmana was very pakka. He was very fixed in his rituals. He was doing this. He used to wake up his deities at the right time and worship, do his Gayatri, everything that he was very pakka in that. But he was a little arrogant. And then when he saw Nārada Muni, he welcomed him, and then he said, "Oh, where are you going now?" So then Nārada Muni said, "Yes, I will be meeting the Lord of Vaikuntha in some time." And then the Brahmana said, "Can you please ask a question to the Lord on my behalf?" And then he said, "Can you ask him that when will I be able to see him? When will I get his darshan?" So Nārada Muni said, "Certainly, I will ask that." And then he moves forward and he goes to another person that was sitting. There was a cobbler sitting on the roadside. And then the cobbler sees the saint, Nārada Muni, and he welcomes him, offers him a seat and some water. And then he says, are you going to, he also asked the same question, "Are you going to meet the Lord?" And then Nārada Muni said, "Yes, I'm going to meet the Lord." And then he says, "Oh, all right, so would you be able to ask him that when will I be able to get his darshan?" So like that, Nārada Muni said, "Of course, I will ask." And then Nārada Muni, goes to Vaikuntha Dham, and then he says, he was just describing his activities, that what all has he done today. And then he said that, "I met this Brahmana and I met this cobbler, and both of them had the same question, that when will they be able to get your darshan, my Lord?" And then the Lord replied, "Yes, for Brahmana, it may take few lifetimes, but for the cobbler, he will see me after this lifetime, after this life ends." So then Nārada Muni was surprised that, what made you say that? Because there's this Brahmana who is very pakka, who is very fixed in his rituals, in his practices that he's performing, while there's this cobbler who is actually, like, in general, cobbler, the occupation of a cobbler is not considered very highly of, and they are dealing with all sorts of leather. So how come you are saying that the cobbler is eligible for to get your darshan just after this lifetime? So then Lord replied that, okay, when they ask me, when they ask you that, what am I doing, and what was I doing when you met me? So just tell them that I was eyeing an elephant, I was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. So then Narad Muni, because he's a pure devotee, he's like, yes, of course you can do that. And he just left from there. And then he went to the same village. And then he first met the Brahmana. And then the Brahmana said, oh, so you got to meet the Lord? What did the Lord say? When will I get his darshan? And then Narad Muni said that it will take, Lord replied that it will take you a few lifetimes to come to Vaikuntha, to get his darshan. And then Brahmana could not believe Narad Muni. He's like, are you even the real Narad Muni? Or did you even see the real God, Lord, my Lord? Because I am so pakka in my rituals, I am so fixed, and I am sure I'm going to go back to Godhead after this life. I don't believe you. You didn't even see the Lord. Okay, if you saw the Lord, tell me what was Lord doing? And then Narad Muni said he was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. And then the Brahmana said, oh, what rubbish! What rubbish are you talking? That can't be possible. How can he thread an elephant through the eye of a needle? I don't believe you. And then Brahmana was very disappointed. And then Narad Muni left from there. And then he went to the Cobbler. And then Cobbler was asking, oh, what was my Lord doing? The first question that the Cobbler asked was, what was my Lord doing? And then Narad Muni said, your Lord was actually threading an elephant through the eye of the needle. Oh, wow, how wonderful. Definitely he can perform such a wondrous activity. And that's what the Cobbler said. And then he said, and then Narad Muni said, also, Lord said that you will get his darshan after this lifetime. So we see the difference. The Cobbler believed the words of Narad Muni. Cobbler believed that Lord Krishna could thread an elephant through the eye of a needle. And then when he asked, Narad Muni asked him, what made you believe that, Krishna could do such a thing? And then the Cobbler replied, do you see these trees around here? They were born from a tiny little seed. So when a tiny little seed can grow up to become a big tree, then why not my Lord can thread an elephant through the eye of a needle? Because this is all his creation. So Cobbler had the faith, and therefore he was able to believe. And then, so here it says that in the translation that they are so wonderful, and the transcendental activities of the Lord are so wonderful, and they appear inconceivable because they appear inconceivable, and even the learned scholar cannot understand them. But we know that unless one is a devotee, they cannot understand Krishna. So one has to be a devotee, at least has that faith that this process works. So unless one is a devotee, they cannot understand that how Krishna can perform these inconceivable activities. There is this verse in Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 3rd chapter, verse number 23. And the translation goes like this, that every living entity is controlled by a supernatural force. And thus, his sense enjoyment is also under the control of that supernatural force. No one, therefore, can put his faith in Lord Krishna's transcendental sense activities, but one who has become a devotee of the Lord by rendering devotional service. Therefore, only a devotee can understand Krishna's transcendental pastimes, can understand Krishna's activities. Brahma-saṁhitā says, Advaita achyutam anadim ananta rupam atyam purana purusham navayovanam cha vedesha durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. What does it mean? That Krishna has Advaita Achyutam Anadi Ananta Rupam. Krishna has so many unlimited forms. He is Achyutam, he is infallible. And he's actually without a second, he is not subject to decay. He is without a beginning and whose form is endless. And he's the eternal Purusha. He is the oldest person, yet he is Navayovanam, that he's the most youngest. But who can understand? Vedesha Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktu. Only a person who is a devotee can understand Krishna's transcendental activities. And this is a statement this is from Brahma-saṁhitā. So the secondary creator, Lord Brahma, is saying this about Lord Krishna. So this comes from a authentic source, and therefore we can believe this. Yes, only a person who is a devotee, only a person who is trying to be a devotee can understand Krishna. We understand Krishna consciousness. We use our intelligence to understand Krishna consciousness. But after a certain point, we cannot know Krishna by logic or by reasoning, but only by bhakti, by devotional service. In Purport to Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 4, verse number 136 or 37, Prabhupada writes that although all Vedic literature is meant for understanding Krishna, one cannot understand Krishna without being a lover of Krishna. I'll repeat the statement again. Although all Vedic literature is meant for understanding Krishna, one cannot understand Krishna without being a lover of Krishna. So Śrīla Prabhupāda is so emphatic here. He's saying that we cannot understand Krishna if we don't have that loving relationship with Krishna. By reading scriptures, we understand, yes, God exists, Krishna is God. All that understanding is there in the head. There is, and of course, intellectual understanding is needed. But if you actually go on the internet, we see there are so many atheistic people's websites than the theist websites, because that is more, people think that yes, not believing in God is much cooler. Not believing in God is much easier, because then there is no dependent. They want to be independent from Krishna, and therefore, just by having these philosophies, these atheistic philosophy, we are kind of establishing this. We are kind of deepening our false ego, because because by that we think we are the doer, and that faith deepens by having by believing in these atheistic philosophy. But ultimately, it is actually, to understand Krishna, it's actually Krishna's reciprocation. It is the experience of Krishna's mercy. It is the experience of Krishna's name, fame, quality, and pastimes that will actually finally confirm that Krishna is a reality. Krishna exists. And if we can totally figure out Krishna by our mind, with our intelligence, or with our intellect, that means our intelligence is greater than Krishna. If we can figure out Krishna by our intelligence, that means Krishna is our intelligence greater than Krishna. But that's not true. Krishna has to be understood beyond our intelligence. That's why we see Brahma. Even Brahma was humbled. We see in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, Brahma was also humbled. Therefore, ultimately, we have to come to a stage where we will see that, if we are sincere devotees, we will come to a stage where we'll go to Krishna and we'll say, Krishna, I can't understand you. Please help me. Krishna, please reveal it to me. What is it that in your names that is so sweet, that the acharyas are saying, that Rupa Goswami is saying, I want millions of tongues. I want millions of ears. What is it that in your name? Why the acharyas are saying that your name is sweeter than the sweetest? So unless we pray to Krishna like that, how can Krishna reveal it to us? Because this is not something that we can do by our own power, by our own endeavor. And of course, from our side, we have to serve sincerely. We have to have that sincerity, that attitude of service. We have to engage in hearing. We have to engage in chanting, and wait for that understanding to come. There are two kinds of understanding. One is when we are trying to figure out things, when we are trying to analyze by our own mind, by our own intellect. And that is, of course, needed. But then there is the second type of understanding, which is when the Lord reveals from within. But that doesn't mean that we don't try to understand Krishna. That doesn't mean that we neglect the word of the scriptures. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Siddhanta boliye chitte na kare alasa, iha hite Krishna lage sudrida manasa. That a sincere student should not neglect the discussion of such conclusions, should not neglect the discussions of the conclusion of Shastras. Because such discussions, such transcendental literature, it strengthens our mind. And then our mind becomes attached to Krishna. So we don't have to be, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, we don't have to be lazy to understand scriptures. But at the same time, we have to fix our mind on, while understanding scriptures, we have to fix our mind. And also we see that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Krishna is a transcendental autocrat. That means Krishna is not dependent. Krishna, we cannot control Krishna. It's up to Krishna. But who can understand Krishna? It's the devotee. Bhaktya mam abhijananti. That means through this process of bhakti, we can understand Krishna. In Purport to Canto 3, Chapter 3, verse number 23, Prabhupada writes that Krishna can only be known by devotees. So, from our side, yes, we are on this path of bhakti, but bhakti also means associating with devotees. Yesterday, His Grace Hemang Chaitanya Prabhu gave a wonderful discourse. He was saying that when we associate with pure devotees, that strengthens our faith, that deepens our connection with Krishna. So if we want to understand Krishna, we have to connect with devotees, because the devotees, they understand Krishna. So if I want to know Krishna, I have to be connected with devotees, because devotees know Krishna, and when devotees are pleased with me, then through their love, through their blessings, through their mercy, I will also be able to understand Krishna. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Krishna se tomara, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati ache. Amito kangal, Krishna Krishna boli, dhaita va pache pache. So what does it mean that? Krishna se tomar, Krishna is yours. And so you give to me Krishna, because I'm a miser. I'm running behind you because I don't have love for Krishna. Only pure devotees, only devotees have love for Krishna. So please give me Krishna. So this is the way we approach Krishna consciousness. Yes, we use our intelligence. We try to understand the scriptures. We try to attend classes. But after a certain point, we come to this point, Krishna, please reveal yourself to me, because this is beyond my intellect. So from our side, what we can do is we can get attached to devotees, because these devotees who love Krishna, they will make us understand Krishna. There's this beautiful pastime of Giriraj Mahārāja, and this pastime it's a very beautiful pastime, and this is the first time that Prabhupada has come to Boston, and Giriraj Mahārāja is a student there. and Prabhupada has given a lecture. So after the class gets over, Giriraj Maharaj asked a question. He's a young college student, and he asked a question to Prabhupada. How do we know who is a real guru? And then Śrīla Prabhupada pointed his finger to him like this. And then Prabhupada said, it depends on whether you want to be God or you want to be a servant of God. So Śrīla Prabhupada wrote like that. And Giriraj Maharaj, that time, he was taken aback. Because at that point, he realized that Śrīla Prabhupada is kind of a mystic. Because Giriraj Maharaj, as a young student, in his hostel room, where he was staying, he had a big poster. Because he was, into meditation. So there was this poster of some impersonalist, some yogi, and who has this, and that poster had a finger pointed like this. And that poster read was, it said, you are God. So the poster that Giriraj Maharaj had in his room was of a yogi, impersonalist, pointing out, you are God. And then Prabhupada is asking him, before answering his question, that his question was, how do I know who is the real guru? And then Prabhupada said, whether you want to be God or servant of God. So Giriraj Maharaj felt that Śrīla Prabhupada could see through him. He could see through his hostel room. He could see that poster where it was written that you are God. So he got completely shaken. And then, of course, Prabhupada gave his answer. And then like that, Giriraj Maharaj kept coming to the center. And after 1.5 years, when Śrīla Prabhupada came again to Boston, this time, Giriraj Maharaj had become a devotee. He was in dhoti, kurta, tilak. And then he asked a question after Śrīla Prabhupada ended his class. So then when he asked Śrīla Prabhupada this question, some question he asked, some devotional question. And then Śrīla Prabhupada looked at him and his eyes became big. And he said, Prabhupada said, oh, I know you, last time you asked me a question. I remember. And then Prabhupada said that actually I prayed to Krishna, that Krishna, he's such a nice boy, please make him a devotee. And then Giriraj Maharaj thought to himself that then I understood that how I became a devotee. Earlier he said he was thinking that he has understood Krishna consciousness. He's into this movement because of his own endeavor. But then when Prabhupada revealed that he prayed for me, that Prabhupada prayed for him, that's when he realized that it is because of Prabhupada's mercy. It was because of Prabhupada's prayers that he was connected to Krishna. So like that, we see that, we are also so fortunate because we have the association of such wonderful devotees in our community. And when we are with them, when we are in the association of devotees, we attract their mercy. And because they love Krishna, we will also eventually learn to love Krishna. And if we actually see, what is that quality? What is that one quality in pure devotees that is common and that makes them understand Krishna to some extent? It is actually non-enviousness. In Purport to Canto 1, chapter 18, verse number 29, Prabhupada writes, Krishna is never envious of anyone, and so Krishna's devotee is also not expected to be envious of anyone. So Krishna is non-envious of anyone. Sometimes people think that, this material world is designed for those who don't surrender unto Krishna. So it's like as a punishment by Krishna, as a punishment by God. But that's actually not true. Because that's not Krishna's mood. His mood is not like, oh, you want to be God, you want to be controller, you want to be my competitor, well then go and suffer. Go and suffer in the material world. And the only way you're going to be happy is by being my subordinate. But that's not the mood of Krishna at all. if one wants to be Krishna's superior in loving mood, then Krishna welcomes that. We see in Vatsalya Bhav, he's allowing Mother Yashoda to be to control him. He's allowing Nanda Baba to control him. So what Krishna doesn't like is that nobody, or in fact, no one would like that, right? If somebody who wants to be a superior in an envious mood, if for example there's this businessman father and has a son, and the father wants the son to give the business and inherit his own, the son also wants to inherit the business, but not in a way that he actually doesn't give a penny from his of his own business to the father, right? Like he overtakes the business in a way that he doesn't give anything to his father. Not in that way. Krishna doesn't like. Nobody would like that. Like in the story of Shah Jahan, who built the Taj Mahal, and then his son imprisoned him, or Kamsa, who imprisoned Ugrasen to take over the kingdom of Mathura. So if if there is a king and the son wants to be a king, that's more than they are welcome to do that. But then it doesn't mean that they are becoming king by putting their own father in jail or by killing them. So like that, Krishna is non-envious, and therefore devotees are also non-envious. So I thought we, because it is saying that how to understand Krishna's wonderful pastimes, it is inconceivable. But there's this one quality Krishna emphasizes over and over again in Bhagavad-gītā as well. He's telling Arjuna that I'm revealing this knowledge to you because you are non-envious. So I thought we can discuss something about this non-enviousness, this quality. Because if we actually see, for all spiritual seekers, being non-envious is a very important quality. You see, in the material world, there are so many people, they're filled with envy, envy towards each other, envy towards nature, envy towards animal. There's this, in 2022, when India lost cricket final to Australia, there were celebrations in Pakistan, there were celebrations in Bangladesh, as if these countries had won the World Cup. But they were not celebrating because they had won. They were celebrating because India lost. So they were rejoicing in someone else's defeat. And this is clearly a sign of envy. And why is envy such a big anartha? What actually envy does? What envy does is it actually blocks our spiritual progress. It blocks our, eventually it blocks our connection with Krishna, because if we are envious, as Prabhupada is saying, that Krishna is non-envious, and Krishna's devotees are also non-envious. So if we want to have relationship with Krishna, this is one big anartha, this is one big contamination, this bad quality that we have to get rid of. And we may say that, oh, I don't have envy. That's not true. We all are here in this material world because we are envious of Krishna, and we are envious of each other to some extent. And this anartha of envy is so subtle that it's not visible. It's not visible easily. Therefore, practice non-enviousness is so important. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gītā, idam tu te guyatamam pravakshami anushuyave jnanam vignana sahitam yagnatva mokshase subha. Krishna says that, my dear Arjuna, I'm revealing this knowledge to you because you are non-envious, anushuyave. I'm going to reveal this knowledge, this most confidential knowledge, because you have no envy against me. And what is the reason that people have envy? Envy can in general be towards each other, envy can be towards God. In fact, because we are envious of Krishna, that envy is reflected in our relationship with each other. And to understand Bhagavad-gītā, to understand scriptures, to understand Bhagavatam, one has to be non-envious. In the beginning of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, there's this verse, Dharma projita keta botra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vidyam vastavam matra vastu shivadam tapadrayon mulanam Śrīmad Bhāgavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va parishvare Sadyo Hide Avarudyate Trakriti Shushrubhistachanat. Means, in this literature, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, all the materially motivated religions are kicked out. Generally, people, they do dharma or religious activities to get artha. 4 purusharths, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And then with artha, what they do is, with the money they get sense enjoyment. They do kama. And when they are frustrated with that kama, they look for moksha. So like that, they are always swinging between chapala sukha. They're swinging between this, oh, I want sense enjoyment, I don't want sense enjoyment, like that. And then they want liberation or impersonal liberation. And many of, if we see in India also, many of the people aspire like that. But that's how they go approach moksha. But that's not what Bhagavatam teaches us. That's not the way to practice dharma. That's not the way to practice religion. What our scripture teaches us, that sarva dharma, what's that verse? That one has to be, sorry, I forgot that. But one has to practice dharma. The translation goes like that: one has to engage in the supreme occupation of every living entity is to engage in Krishna's service unconditionally and without any motivation. Apratihata. So the essence of dharma, the essence of parodharma, the supreme duty of every living being is to perform bhakti unto Krishna in a selfless manner, without any expectation. And this is what is described in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Bhagavatam glorifies selfless devotion unto Krishna, which is understood by non-envious people. The very first line of this verse says, Nirmatsaranam satam, means to understandable by only pure-hearted devotees who have no trace of envy in one's heart. So to the degree we are non-envious, to that degree we can understand Krishna's wonderful pastimes. To that degree we can understand Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. To that degree we can understand Śrīmad Bhagavad-gītā. Our understanding of scriptures, our understanding of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is directly proportionate to our quality of being envious towards Krishna and towards other people. There's a verse in third canto where it describes there are various plants of Vaikuntha and birds of Vaikuntha. And how the verse goes like this, that how there are, although there are many flowering plants in Vaikuntha, there are many which are full of fragrance, like the Mandara, Kunda, Kurabaka, Utpala, Champaka, Punanga, Naga, Keshara, Bakula, Lily, Parijata, and they're full of transcendental fragrance. Yet, all these plants are still conscious of the austerities that are performed by Srimati Tulsi Maharani. And therefore, all of these plants, they actually, they encourage Tulsi Maharani to go in the front of the Lord. They encourage Tulsi Maharani to, because they understand that Krishna loves Tulsi. So, even though they are, and they are aware that they are full of transcendental fragrance. And if we actually see, Tulsi has, it's not very fragrant like the other flowers. Yet, these plants are conscious. These flowering plants are conscious that Krishna loves Tulsi, and therefore Krishna loves to garland himself with Tulsi leaves. Therefore, they actually encourage Tulsi to serve Krishna, to go forward. Not like, if we have, not like us, if we have even, like a tinge of a good quality, if I can cook well, if I can sing well, if I can dance well, then I will make sure that I am in the front, or I am doing that service. But that's not the consciousness of, that's not what Krishna aspires us to have. Krishna doesn't want us to have this quality. When we are encouraging to others, then in that also we are gaining. Because if we actually see, we all have our eternal relationship with Krishna. It's not that if somebody is doing this service, then I am deprived of any service. There's no dearth of service. When Gauranga Darshan Prabhu was here, he quoted these verses that how there are different plants of Vaikuntha and there are different birds of Vaikuntha. He was quoting these verses in children classes, and then he will mention that there are 3 categories of people in this world. One is inferior to you, one is equal to you, and one are superior to you. And so this topic basically suggests that was addressing that how we can control our envy, how we can get rid of this quality of envy. And I was thinking that this subject of envy is so deep, why is there a need to discuss this topic with little children? They're 5, 6, 8, 10-year-old, and as adults, they don't have that much contamination. And then, instantly I got my answer when Prabhu was asking questions after the class. If Prabhu used to pick one child, the other children were disappointed. And they were like, oh, I never get a chance. And then Gauranga Darshan Prabhu reminded children that, but that's what we learned in the class, that we have to be encouraging, we have to be supportive to others. Radhesham Prabhu gives this analogy of acronym of how to overcome envy. He says fault, that's the acronym, and F stands for focusing on the good qualities and not the faults of the devotees. So when we are doing that, and when we are focusing on the good qualities, because if I remember this when Prabhupada, when Bhagavatasha Prabhu was mentioning that how everything belongs to Krishna. We belong to Krishna, right? Our mind, our intelligence, everything belongs to Krishna. So when we have these thoughts of envy towards others, when we have these thoughts of, oh, I didn't get a chance, or like that, Krishna doesn't like that, because we are Krishna's part and parcel. We are part of Krishna, and our swarup is that we are his servant. So if a servant is serving in an envious mood, how will the master like it? Or if a servant has a mood of picking faults in others, how will the master like it? So when we focus on the good qualities, then of others, then Krishna likes that. And even we will like it, of course, because we have been in this material world for so long that we just think, oh, just because this person got a chance, I'm deprived of my own service to Krishna. That's not true. That's not how it works in spiritual world. Everything has a place. Everyone of us has a place. My Guru Maharaj used to say that if, we sometimes think, oh, if I leave this material world and if I go back to spiritual world, I don't know anybody there. But that's not true. My Guru Maharaj used to say that we have a family there. And that's our real family. Like how in the case of Gop Kumar, when Gop Kumar is wandering throughout the universe, and then finally he comes to Goloka Vrindavan, he reaches Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna comes running. Krishna embraces Gop Kumar and says, "Oh, I've been waiting for you. Where have you been?" So it's not that we have a family there as well, and that's our real family. So F stands for we focus on the good qualities of others. We don't focus on the faults of the devotees. A stands for we are aware of the danger of fault finding in other devotees. Because Vaishnava Prad, we have heard so much about that. When we are blaspheming a devotee, it actually, Krishna hates that. Krishna doesn't like it. Because then we are actually going away from Krishna. Because see, if there is dislike, then that leads to, dislike is mild, then that leads to hatred. And then that hatred leads to blasphemy. So, and we have heard in the scriptures, there are so many examples that when one tries to blaspheme a devotee, it doesn't go well. There is this case of Ramachandra Puri in Chaitanya Charitamrita, because he had this habit of fault finding in others. Then he offended his spiritual master, Madhavendra Puri. When Madhavendra Puri was on his deathbed, he was crying in separation from Krishna. And then Ramachandra Puri was saying that, what is wrong with you? Don't you know that you are the soul? And why are you crying in separation? Like that, he was condemning his spiritual master. But Madhavendra Puri was experiencing this separation from Krishna. But he couldn't understand, his disciple couldn't understand, and therefore he offended his spiritual master. And because he offended his spiritual master, he eventually offended Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He offended the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And what did he do? He actually pinpointed that, because you eat so much sweet, because there were ants coming from Mahaprabhu's room, and he said, because you eat so many sweets, that's why there are so many ants. As a sannyasi, you should not do this. So he was finding fault in the Lord himself. So we have to be aware of the danger of finding faults. And by repeatedly hearing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his dealing with his devotees, by reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, we can understand that it's like this mad elephant offense, Prabhupada said in Nectar of Instruction. We see in the case of Daksha Prajapati, he was finding faults with Lord Shiva, and the result was he got a goat head. There was another devotee, Amoga, who was finding fault in Mahaprabhu, eating too much, and he got cholera. So one thing we all have to be convinced of is that unnecessary fault finding in Vaishnava has not done anything good anywhere. Of course, as a spiritual guardian, if someone has given us a adhikar, if someone has given us this right, or we are in a position where we have to, where we are serving as a mentor, then yes, but that also is done in a pleasing way. And then U stands for, so F stands for focus on good qualities. A stands for being aware of the danger of fault finding in other devotees. And U stands for uplift them. So, we have to be encouraging. Always, I was talking to a devotee yesterday, and they were, this was the first time they were leading a kirtan, and they were saying that, I didn't sing I'm not sure if I played the right chords on the harmonium, and I was like, that's all right. You tried at least, and this was your first time, and they did so well. So as devotees, we have to be uplifting. Because that's what Krishna appreciates, and that's what is our eternal nature. That's what, because of this contamination in this material world for so long, we have forgotten how to be good, how to be non-envious. Therefore, it's very important to uplift others. And then L stands for if we cannot uplift, there may be some cases where we cannot uplift then we have to leave to Krishna. We have to pray to Krishna that please show them the right path. And then T stands for tolerate. Tolerate this envy. Because ultimately, Krishna is in our heart. And in the purport to Bhagavad-gītā, chapter 5, verse number 15, Prabhupada writes that how Krishna is so close to us as Paramatma that we can, when we are near to a flower, we can smell the fragrance of the flower. Similarly, Krishna can smell all the desires. He knows all our thoughts. He's active. And when we have this envy towards, and when we try to tolerate it, we try to pray to Krishna that, yes, I have this bad quality, but I am, from my own endeavor, I am trying to tolerate it. So Krishna, please give me some strength. And then Krishna will definitely send us strength. Therefore, we have to, that's how we can overcome this feeling of envy. Because we need to understand that we all have eternal relationship with Krishna. Just because Krishna is reciprocating with someone does not mean that Krishna is not reciprocating with us. It is actually not a love triangle where two boys are, after one girl, and the girl chooses only one of the boys. It's not like that. Krishna is infinite, and he's available for all of us, no matter what happens. Therefore, this spiritual connection with Krishna, this experience of love is accessible to us all the time. If other devotees are advancing, it's not going to affect us. There is a place in the spiritual world for the devotee, for us, for everyone. From spiritual perspective, it makes no difference. My Guru Maharaj used to say, therefore, when we engage in devotional service, everything comes out in the wash. This devotional service is so powerful. When in one of the prayers, Prahlad Maharaj says, Swastyastu Vishwasya Kala Prasidatam Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mithodhiya Manascha Badram Vachata Dadokshaje Avveshatam No Matirapiya Hetuki. He's saying that may there be good fortune throughout the universe. May all envious persons be pacified. And may all living entities become calm by practicing this bhakti yoga. Or by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. And therefore, by engaging in Krishna's service, by engaging in the loving service of this of Supreme Lord, we can overcome this envy. So if we see other person becoming more advanced, if we see other person getting more appreciation, we can see that it is acting like an inspiration for us to become more dedicated. We can think like this: if this person can advance, then why can't I? Because nobody is born a pure devotee. Maybe some person's life is more favorable, or one was more advanced in previous life. But they all have worked hard. They all have worked hard to get this mercy. So someone's advancement can give us faith in this process of bhakti. So like that, if whatever service the other devotee is doing, if we also appreciate the devotee, we also make advancement. We may not get spontaneous appreciation, yet when we appreciate in the mood of doing service, it purifies us. It inspires us to look into the positive. So what we have summarized, I'll just try to summarize that, the translation says that we cannot understand Krishna, but we can understand Krishna through bhakti. So bhakti is the process through which we can understand Krishna. And like in the beginning of Bhagavatam says that dharma projita ketabo na nirmatsaranam satam. That means one has to be non-envious. So To the degree we are non-envious, to that degree we can understand Krishna and Krishna's wonderful pastimes. In the last paragraph, Prabhupada writes in the purport that the Lord is unlimited and his activities are also unfathomed. With a limited source of knowledge and with imperfect senses, any living being up to the standard of Brahmaji, the highest perfect living being within the universe, can never imagine knowing about the unlimited. We can know something of the unlimited when it is explained by the unlimited, or has been done by the Lord himself in the unique statements of Bhagavad-gītā. And it says that it can also be known to some extent from realized souls like Sukdev Goswami, who learnt it from Vyasadeva, a disciple of Nārada. And thus the perfect knowledge can descend by the chain of disciplic succession only, and not by any form of experimental knowledge, old or modern. So this paragraph, this last paragraph, is again establishing the supremacy of the knowledge coming from the disciplic succession. So Avaroha Panth that we discussed in the last class, it is not by experimental knowledge, it is not by the scientific knowledge that we can understand Krishna, that we can understand Krishna's pastime. Only by this knowledge that is coming from disciplic succession, only when we are associating with devotees, only when we have developed this quality of non-enviousness towards the Lord, towards each other, then we can fully understand Krishna. Of course, we cannot fully understand Krishna because Krishna himself also doesn't understand Krishna. It says that, Krishna discovers this quality in him, and then again he discovers another quality in him. So like that, Krishna's qualities keep increasing. So even Krishna cannot understand himself yet. But by this process, by staying in the association of devotees, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that, because Krishna is yours, so you can only give me Krishna. So when we associate with devotees, when we are associating with scriptures, then we can understand this the inconceivable, wonderful pastimes of Krishna. So I'll stop here and see if anyone has any questions, any corrections. So we'll stop here. All of you have a wonderful Krishna conscious day. Granthra Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you very much, Mataji.